All right, guys. We're gonna start. So, uh, can you guys all? I sent the link to the slideshow in the chat. If you all could please navigate to the slideshow, because I can only share one window at a time. So if you go to the slideshow, we will be on slide 23. So this segment will last for 1 hour.
40 minutes.
Or 45 minutes, and more people are joining. All right, for the people who just joined, we are going to be on slide 23 of the slideshow. If you click chat, you will be able to see what I've linked to. If you just go there, it'll show what the objective is and how we're going to be making the calculator.
Also, if you know anyone that's coming and they haven't joined yet, just let us know and we won't start until they're here.
All right, so more people have joined. All right, let's give it another 1 minute. See if any more people join. All right, okay, we're gonna start. So if everybody can get to slide 23 and follow along. So we're going to be making a calculator. And so here are the requirements for our calculator. We're going to be taking a first number for an input, a second number for an input. Then we're going to be taking in the operation that we want to do, multiply, divide, subtract. We'll calculate and output the answer, and then we'll ask the user if they want to run the program again.
And we're assuming that you have like some basic Java knowledge or you joined us for our like first hour presentation. So
yeah. And if you don't, you can refresh yourself because this the slideshow is there. You can look at the earlier slides. And I just saw somebody join. There's the slideshow, click on chat, and then open up the slideshow, and then get to slide 23. All right. Cool. So we'll start coding it now. So the first thing that we have to do is I made a new file, all right, and I've called it the main class.
Wait. All right, wait. We'll resend the link if you want. Oh, okay, never mind. Our Khan gave it to you.
No.
Wait, that was the wrong link.
Yeah, that's the wrong link.
Oh wait, that might have been the right one.
All right. So what I'm going to do here is the first thing that we'll need to take in an input from the users is we're going to need to import java.util.scanner. So what the scanner is that's how we take an input from the users. All right. So like any Java program, we're going to need the main method, right? So I'll type in the main method, which is public static void main string art. If you guys were here for the last hour, you know that the main method is something that every program will need, no matter how big it is, and that's what runs. So the compiler or the computer will first look at the main method and start running line by line. All right, so we're going to have to make this scanner object, right? We have to actually make the scanner so that people can input things into it. So I'll do scanner, and this should be fairly simple. You can look at the examples before. So we have to give it the terminal or the console that we'll be using, which is system.in. Let's see if I can make this text bigger. All right.
Control plus, does that work?
Let me try Control Plus. Is this size fine for the text, or should I try and make it bigger?
Dude, it's glitching out.
Right, that's fine. Okay, so I've made a new scanner, right? And then after that, I'm going to have to make a new variable for the first number, right? So after we've made this, I'm going to make a double, and it's going to be called first number, right? So that's going to be our first number. And if you were here for the last hour, you know a double is a number that can have a decimal point in it. The reason we're not using an integer is because an integer would be only a whole number. And if you're familiar at all with Java and its arithmetic, when you divide by an integer, it will round down all the time. So we will be using doubles to keep everything accurate. And then we will tell the user that to input the first number. So we will do input the first number. So we're telling the user that we need to input the first number. Here I'm using system.out.print and not print line. So the difference between print and print line, right, is that print line will append a new line at the end. So whenever I run this, let me add a configuration, I guess. So whenever I run this, one second. All right, so whenever I run this, it's building, and when I run, it says input the first number, and it didn't make a new line. So here what I can do is I can say first number, right? And I'm gonna set this equal to scanner.next double, right? Because this is going to be the next. We wanna ask for a double, right? So whenever I run this, I'm gonna ask for a number. So whenever I run this, it'll say input the first number, and then I'll be able to type it in the same line. It's just a little bit cooler. Like if I put in print line, it would do essentially the same thing. We could still input the number, but it wouldn't be on the same line. So when I start typing or when I start putting in my number, it'll be on the next line. So that's why we use print instead of print line. Obviously, after they put in the number, you want to make a new line. So we can just do system.out.println, and that makes a new line. You don't have to put anything inside of it. So this is how we get our first number, and it'll be inside there, inside this variable. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our second number, right? So I will copy this code down.
Toruko just said something inside the chat, bro. I don't know what that means.
All right. So we're going to call this second number, right? So this will hold the value for our second number. And I will change the according things. So here we'll ask for the second number, and we will set it to the next double, right? Or we'll ask for another double, and there we go. So now let's just see how it's working. We can do is a print, right? And we can print the first number, and then we can print. We can make this a string, right? And we could do a comma, and then we can print the second number.
So basically in Java, when you want to like put two things together, and they're strings, we use the plus sign. So the plus sign can be used in both arithmetic and combining like two strings or like variables or something like that. So when we put like comma or like the quotation marks, Java automatically knows that we're trying to like combine the two variables and print them out and not add them. But if we took that out, it would try to add them. So that's basically how that print statement works.
I just figured out how to make the text bigger. Let me do that really quick. Alright, so here when I run this, I'll put in any number, so let's say 5.4, and then when it asks for the second number, I can put in, let's say 21, right? And then it'll repeat these numbers back out to me. So you see, because we made it a double, it's appending this 0.0 at the end. So that way it's staying completely accurate. So that way we know that this first part worked, and we're able to get the, So if you go back to the slides, so on the slides, if you look, we did the first two things. Take a first number input and take a second number input. Now we need to get the operation input. All right. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to make a string, and we're going to call it operation. All right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to ask the user for an operation, whether it be plus, minus, multiply, or divide. And as a bonus, at the end of this class, whenever we're all done, you guys can implement an exponent type and a modulus type. We'll teach you what that is at the end of class, so you guys can put that into this. I'll leave the code there as well. So now if we go here, and now we have to just ask the user for the operation, right? So we'll do a system.out.print, right? We'll do what operation do you want to use, right? Or we could say input the operation that you want to use, right? We leave a space so that they can put it in there, and then we'll say that the operation is equal to scanner dot next, right? So we'll do operation is equal to scanner dot next, and then we have a few different cases of what that operation can be, right? Or what the answer can be, right? Or what the operation can be, and that depends. That'll change what the answer is. So at the top of the program, I'm going to make a new variable, and I'm going to call it the answer, right? So down here, what I can do is I'm going to write a series of if statements. Usually what we do is something called a switch and a case, but we didn't teach that in the first hour, so I'm just going to go with if statements here. So here I'm going to say if the operation is equal to, right? We do dot equals, and then we do if it's equal to plus. So when in the other hour, what we did was we would use two equal signs, and that's when we compare numbers to other numbers. So Siri can explain why we use the dot equals.
Yeah, so dot equals basically it checks whether the strings are actually the same. Like you could probably get by using equal, but like it wouldn't work the way you want it to. Like it wouldn't give you an error, I don't think, but it wouldn't work the way you want it to in checking whether the value of the strings are the same. So we just use dot equals for strings to check whether their inside value is the same. Yeah, so that's basically what we do for dot equals. So we probably end up creating some more if statements after this. So
yeah, so if we have a plus sign, right, the answer will be equal to the first number plus the second number, right? So this one's pretty simple, and what we can also do to make this code a little bit shorter is we can get rid of these curly braces. We can put this whole if statement on one line. Because this if statement only has one thing here, we can put it all in one line, or one line of code. So in the chat, can somebody say what else would we add? Would we do another if statement, else if statement, or else statement? Anybody in the chat?
Yeah, that's correct. We would use an else if.
Yeah, good job, Nathan.
Yeah. So the pros of using an else if is basically we separate the cases out completely, and we so if our condition is true on the first if statement, we don't continue on to the else ifs. But if we used an if, it would work, but our program would go through all of the ifs. So else if is probably the best option right there. So
yeah. So here we're going to do else if, and then we're going to do the same thing. So if operation equals, and then for this one we'll do minus. We'll do answer equals first number subtracted by or minus the second number. So we'll find the difference of the two. And like every other line, we put a semicolon at the end. Same thing. So copying that, I'm just gonna paste this line two more times, and I'm gonna do multiplication on this one, right? So in Java, whenever we want to multiply two numbers, we use the asterisk, which is shift 8. So for this one, simply answer is equal to first number times second number. For this, we would put a slash, right? And so the slash is for divide. Now, we also have people who wouldn't, let's say they don't put in the operation, right? Let's say they put in some other word and they don't actually put in a plus, minus, multiply, or divide. So what other statement should we use here to error check or tell the user that they did something wrong? Somebody in the chat.
yeah, that's correct. You got it again. So we would use an else statement right there because that would cover every other case. So if all the if and else if statements that came before the else all failed, and like our dot equals operation did not find that the string values were equal, we would default to the else statement. So that would be like our sort of like cover. So we would probably end up printing out error or something, or we try to like ask for the input again if that happened.
All right, so we'll do an else statement here, right? And for now, let's just print out you didn't enter a correct operation. Right? Can you guys tell me if this font size is okay? It looks a little bit small. Just tell me in the chat if I should increase it. Oh, what the? Okay. So you somehow increased it. What'd you do?
Yeah, bro.
Alright. Okay. Well, we figured out how to make it bigger. Alright. Somebody says it's all good. Okay. So, after this, what we're going to do is we're going to tell the, or if you look back at the slides, we already calculated the answer. We want to output the answer at this point. So, here we'll do a print again, right? And we'll tell the user, sorry, we have to put this inside of a string. So we have to tell the user the answer is, right? And then we can add the answer to that. So if we do a plus sign, what we're doing is we're printing the answer is, and then that.
So answer just gets converted to a string, and then we concatenate the answer is and answer.
Yeah, concatenation is when you add two strings together or two pieces of information together inside of or when you add two strings together.
Yeah, basically it just like converts them into a string.
Yeah. So I'm getting an error here. Would anybody know why? It's fine if you guys don't. Just want to get some engagement. All right. So the reason why we're getting this error is because we haven't initialized this variable. So if we go all the way to the top and says double answer, right? So it's not equal to anything here. It's equal to null. And what null is when we're writing programs is it's basically absolutely nothing. So it would throw an error if we printed this right now, right? Because answer isn't equal to anything unless what the user entered was a plus, minus, times, or divide, right? So let's say they didn't do any of that, right? Then answer would be equal to null, and it would say then it would throw an error. So what we'll do here is we'll set answer equal to 0 in the start of the program, and what that does is it'll just get rid of the I'll get rid of that. All right.
Yeah, so even though we have an else statement that technically covers like all the possibilities of like anything you would enter, the like code doesn't actually know that, so you gotta like actually initialize it correctly.
So here we're gonna ask. So if we go back to our objectives, you can't see it on my shared screen, but if you go back to the slides and you go to slide 23, we're done with everything. We just have to ask the user if they want to run again, right? So here, it's pretty simple. Again, what we do is we print without the print line, and we ask the user, so do or would you like to go again? Or we could say continue, right? And then we would ask yes or no. And then here we would do or we need a variable actually before this, right? So let's make it a Boolean, or actually let's make it a string. And we'll call the string run again. The reason you can't call it continue is because continue is a reserved word in Java. So you can't actually name any variable continue because it's reserved for loops. So it actually has a purpose in Java. Like you can't name a variable if, because if is something else in Java, so we can't actually name it that. So I'll name it keep going. All right, and then I'll say keep going is going to be equal to scanner.next, right? So it'll be equal to whatever they write.
Next
Here-
line, right?
Here, let's say they
Oh, wait.
let's say they put in a capital letter, so we'll do 2 lowercase, right? And then what we can also do is called strip. And what strip does is it removes any white space at the beginning or the end. So let's say they do Y and then space, it'll get rid of that space. So here we'll do so basically we have our whole program. Now what we have to do is we actually have to incorporate it so that this program will keep going. So what we have to do now is we can move this string all the way up to the top of the program. We'll initialize it at the same time. And we'll initialize this as a yes, right? Because we want the program to keep going, right? Or whenever we start the program for the first time, we want it to keep going. So here, I'll put all of this inside of a while loop, right? And I'll just do while keep going equals, and then while, right? So while that's happening, and then I'll put the rest of that inside of that. So this is all inside of this loop now, right? So while keep going is equal to y. So whenever this program starts, it'll already be equal to y. So it'll start. It'll go all the way down to the bottom, and I'll ask, do you want to continue? If they say no, then keep going will be equal to n, and then it won't be equal to that. So the only issue with this is if they put anything other than y, the program won't start again. We won't go over how to fix that. It's pretty easy. You can just error check it at the bottom like we did here with the if statements and say, if it's not a y or an n, do this or that. But But I think this is good enough. So let's run this. And now we gotta input the first number. Let's try 10 divided by 2. So we'll do 10, 2, and then we want to do divide. So the answer is 5.0. Do you want to keep going? Let's continue. Let's get some more numbers.
Let's try a different operation.
Yeah, let's do a different operation. Let's do 4 times 2, right? So the answer is 8. Cool. Let's try 7 plus 3. Here we go. Answer is 10. After that, let's try
Subtraction.
subtraction. Let's do 15 minus 5 is 10. And then let's see if our while loop is working. So if I type in n, will the program stop? And yes, the program finishes with exit code 0. All right. So what we can do now is that we can pretty up this code. I noticed when we were running this, it was putting this extra line here, which is my bad. We can get rid of this. So I put that there. There we go. All right, so it'll look a little bit more cleaner. We could put a new line once we're done with the program, right? So it separates each time you run it. So if I can run this again, I can do 5, 3 multiplication, 15. You want to continue this. So that looks much cleaner. The next thing we have is that for you all, I'm going to put this code on a paste bin, and I'll send you guys this code. Do you all know what REPL is? So in the last hour, we discussed something called REPL.com. Right?
Replit, bro.
Or Replit.com.
No, it's repl.it, bro.
Yeah, Repl.it. Sorry, can you share my Firefox?
All right. Where's your mouse?
Sorry. Yeah, just stop presenting. All right.
All right. So we're gonna.
Firefox.
Yeah.
Alright. So now that you can see my screen, let's see what they see. Alright. So now that you see my screen, I'm going to go to a paste bin. And I'm going to paste this code in for you guys. So your task is to I'm gonna call this a calculator.
All right. So should I explain this?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, what we want you to do is you saw us do a bunch of if, else if, and else statements that each took in an operation. We want you to do the same thing, but with 2 more operations. So those would be power and modulus. So for power, if you look on top of your 6 key on your keyboard, if you do Shift 6,
8.
Oh, Shift 6, yeah, that's.
All right. If you do 2 multiplication symbols, that's power, and then Shift 5 would be modulus.
Because that's what power is.
All right. So modulus is a different arithmetic, and what that is it's basically a division, but the answer is going to be the remainder of it. So 10 modulus 3, the answer would be 1, or 15 modulus 4 the answer would be 3. So it's basically, it just gives you the remainder. The reason that you would use this is, let's say you want to check if a number is, let's say, even or odd. You could do that number modulus 2. If the remainder is 0, it's obviously an even number. If the remainder is 1, it has to be an odd number.
Yeah, and you can also do this for like checking if anything is divisible by anything else. So basically what we want you to do is read these 2 or accept these 2 inputs in if statements or else if statements. So we want you to read the double times, which is equal to power, or a percent, and then perform the operation correctly. So in Java, it is percent, you can do percent with two numbers or the two multiplication symbols that indicates that it's a power. So
And the second thing we want you guys to do is, I remember the error checking that I did. So if we look back here, if you did the else, you didn't enter correct operation. What the program will do is just say the answer is 0, right? And we, that's okay, but what else can we do here? So come up with a solution. Maybe you could do an if statement. You could set the answer equal to some ridiculously high number, or maybe you can get a bit, make another boolean that's called error, and then set the error to true. Simple answers. If you know advanced Java, then you know you can throw an exception.
yeah, so you guys can start off with the thing we just put in with the power and modulus. And if you guys finish that, you can move on to the second task.
Oh, and like I showed, it's pretty easy to do that. So if you come to this pastebin, to the link I did, you copy this, and then you go to repl.it. It was pretty easy to make an account. You just sign in with Google. You click interested in Java. You do new REPL. You select the language, Java, and then it's pretty easy. Then you come in here. Then you can just paste in the program, and you guys can keep editing. Once you guys are done, I would like you to, is there a way to share the REPL? Yeah. So you see the share button here? Invite these 2 emails. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Also, I want to add something. I don't think that there's a times operator in Java. Pretty sure math.pow would be the best way to go about
Yeah,
doing powers.
Is there no?
you have to wait. Do you have to import master? Oh, bro.
Don't worry about it.
All right, wait. So don't worry about the power. Just do modulus for now. We'll figure out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out in the meantime.
Oh, bro, just import it. So can you type in chat if you were successful in creating an account, or like where you're at right now?
Yeah, you guys can speak too. That's all fine. Yeah. You guys can ask us questions too. Don't worry about it.
You can ask us in chat or turn on voice chat, so you're all good.
And you can share your screen as well. Can anybody who's actually attempting to do this say in the chat that that they're trying to do it?
Otherwise, we're probably gonna be done.
Or we can show you the answer if we
Yeah.
do it.
But it would probably be a better learning experience if you guys were to do it yourself.
Let's hope it.
All right, we'll probably wait for like 2 more minutes for an answer, and then we'll just show.
Yeah, if you're doing it, just say you're doing it. I will attempt to do it later on for sure.
All right, cool. Well, you have the code anyway, so you can use that. But all right, so if no one else is really gonna do it, we'll just give you the answer, right?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So let me change this to show. All right. Since nobody else said that they were going to do it, I will show the answer now. So if we wanted to add a modulus, right? It's pretty simple. We just do else if operation equals, right? And then we do the modulus. Then we could do answer equals first number modulus second number. Another way we could handle this error is at the top we can set a new boolean, right? We could do a boolean error equals false, right? Because at the start of the program there's not going to be any error, right? And so then in this case what we can do is I can make this else statement. I can say you didn't enter a correct operation. I can do I can make error equal to true, right? And then here I can say I'll only print out the answer if there's no error, right? So I can do if and then error, right? So what this exclamation point is, what we would explain in the next hour, it's on our slides too. This exclamation point is basically the opposite of the boolean there. So if the if there's
So basically, you could do if error equals false, or you could do error exclamation point.
or you can do
false.
exclamation point error. So basically we want to say if error is equal to false, right? And so error is equal to false would be true if there's no error, right? And then we could do or we could do the exclamation point, which does basically the same thing, right? So if there is no error, we want to print out the answer. If there is an error, whatever, skip it, right? And then we'll just ask them if they want to continue, and here we'll set the error equal to false, right? Because we're done with the whole error checking part, right? And then to make this shorter, we can also get rid of that. Cool. So I'll run this now again. And now I can input a number. Let's try 5 modulus 3, because that's the thing we just added. And then we'll say continue. Then we'll do any random numbers. And then we'll put in something that's not an operation, see if our error checking works. You didn't enter a correct operation. Do you want to continue? Yes or no? And then there we go. So now we also want to add error checking for the first and second number. All right. So the way that we'll
wait, someone just typed something in chat. Wait, pull the mouse. Wait. 1 second.
Why can you do for?
All right. So basically,
Okay, that's a good
strings.
question.
So strings are like with the dot equals. What we're doing is like, since strings are whatever you want inside the quotes, we're checking that the actual value of the string is equal to the other value of the other string. I think if you do equals, it's checking if it points to the same part, same part of the memory or something, right?
Yeah. So string is a
Yeah. Like
so,
the address.
Yeah, you get it. So string is an object. So there's an address in the computer's memory of where it's stored. It's like a big byte value. So when you do equals, it'll check if it's the same exact string. But if you have two different objects or strings, but they have the same value in it, they'll have different parts. They'll be stored differently in the memory. But dot equals checks if they have the same value inside of them. Whereas equals just checks if, like Sergey said.
Yeah, and Boolean is just true or false, so you're able to just check those. Java automatically does that, so you're good with those. All right, so let's keep going.
Yeah, so now we're gonna add error checking for the rest of this. So we're gonna do if the first number, right? It says next double, right? Let's say or do you wanna tell them about trying catches? All right, yeah. So we'll go through with trying catches. So if we run this, right? And then I put in here something that's not a double, like my name, right? It says there was an error, right? And then here it tells us that there was an input mismatch exception. Basically, it's not a double, so the program is freaking out. So what we can do is we can say try, right? We can do try, and let's try to do
the whole thing.
Let's try to do
Or
this part, just this part.
Yeah.
So we'll try to do this part where we're inputting, right? Because that's where an error could come, right? and then we'll do catch. What catch
Exception.
does, what catch does is, if there is an error, what it'll do, it won't actually stop the program. What it'll do is run anything that's inside of this catch statement, and then it'll make the error E, right? So it'll actually tell us what the exception is, so we can print it out. So let's say we can just do E dot get cause, right? So we can tell it, or it would actually be message, get message. So we can do this, and we can print it out so that we can tell the user what went wrong. But in this case, we don't care. We can just tell it that you input the wrong data. Try again, right? So we can do that, right? And then
Why don't we just do a continue, bro? Alright, whatever, yeah.
we can do try again, right? And we can do error equals true, because now there's an error. So the rest of this will go on, right? And what we'll do is we'll put the rest of this code, this part at least, inside this try command. There you go. All right. So what's happening here is it'll try and run the whole calculator, right? It'll try and calculate the whole thing. If there's an error, you input the wrong thing, try again. Error is going to be equal to true. It'll keep going, ask you to continue, and then error is going to be equal to false, and it'll keep going. So now I'll try and input the first number. I put in something wrong. It'll say you enter the wrong data, try again, continue, and then
You just clicked enter, I think. I think you just clicked enter and then it just like quit.
Okay.
Oh, did it? Oh.
Yeah, so there's some debugging to happen. It won't let me put in a number after that for the scanner. I'm not too sure how to fix that. So all right, let's try something. So this worked, right? This is all part of programming. Seeing what things work and what don't, right? So here we caught the exception, and that all worked, right? Now we're going to the continue part, and it didn't let me enter what's happening. Khan, do you know what's happening? I'm not sure. All right, so let's see. I'm going to take this part out of the try and catch. So let me try and remove this part, and I'll put it out here. So the reason we're getting errors is because when you put something inside of this try and catch, you can only use the variables inside the try and catch. It's called different types of it's called globalization, I think, or the scope of variables. So what I'll do is, it's pretty easy to fix this. We'll just make the variables in the beginning of the program, right? So I'll put the variables in here. So I'll make the variables here, and that should fix that. Oh, and we need to initialize these. So I'll just set this equal to 0. This equal to 0, and this equal to that. All right. So we have to give it some value, and then let's see if this works. So if we enter something wrong, and it won't let us do it again. All right. So does anybody have any ideas on how to fix this? Right now, it was
scan the next. Try next line. Yeah.
Let's try the other method, next line. See if that works. No. I'm not really sure what bricked the program.
No, because it tried to read an X line too.
Alright. So
Wait, take out this like
yeah, so let me
lowercase.
yeah, let me take this out and see if that does anything. Oh dang. I'll try and fix it, and then I'll post the answer later in the Slack if I'm able to do it, because we didn't plan for this error checking.
All right, but we got the basic program for you right now, so if you want to just check that out, you can go ahead. But
Yeah, on the paste bin.
yeah,
All right, so we'll see you guys in the next hour. We have a bunch of stuff to learn in the next hour, so I hope you guys all come to that.
yeah. There's like a lot of information. This is probably
It's our longest one.
Yeah, it's the most information filled one, so definitely join us for that one.
We have over 20 slides on the
Yeah, and we'll tell you in the next slideshow if you're there the answer to this, and we'll give you the code for that as well if you're there. So, all right, thanks for joining us. But if you want to stick around, I guess you can until you wait for the next one. But yeah, that's all for now.
All right, thank you guys. See ya.